Welcome to a new Voltlog. This is a follow-up on Voltlog 148, the pocket multimeter shootout. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it on screen right now. In that video I reviewed these four cheap pocket multimeters. The general idea was that while some had advantages over the others, they were all missing important protection features on the input, making them safe to use only with low voltage, low energy circuits. The guys from welectron saw that video, they contacted me and said they have something better, and they sent me these two pocket multimeters together with this nice PCB ruler. So let's take a look at what they sent me. This is the Brymen BM22S, and in here there should be a Brymen BM27S pocket multimeter. So they sent me these multimeters for review, and we all know Brymen is a reputable manufacturer that makes good meters which have the required protection features and real ratings certified even by independent laboratories. Before moving to the actual review of the meters, I also want to mention that welectron is offering a €5 voucher, which I will place in the description below. Shipping is around €5 for one of these pocket meters on their online shop, so you basically get the chance of ordering one of these meters with free shipping by using the coupon code that I will place in the description below. Now let's talk a bit about the functions we get or we don't get on these pocket multimeters from Brymen. Same as with the others, there is no backlight on the display, but that is to be expected. They run off CR2032 batteries, and adding a backlight would drain the battery too fast. The BM22 is a 4000 count, while the BM27 is a 6000 count meter, which makes it the highest count meter from the ones we've looked at so far. The BM27 also has this auto check function, which does automatic DC volts, AC volts or ohms detection, which in my opinion is pretty annoying, because this means it will have these measurements on the auto position, but also on the separate volts and ohms selection. But I also see the utility of the auto check function, this being a pocket meter with a small rotary switch. It will save you the trouble of having to reselect a different option whenever you change to a different measurement. So you keep both of your hands on the measurement probes instead of switching back and forth to make a new selection on the multimeter. The BM27 also features DC amps, a very low current range of just 2 milliamps, which seems like it's intended for some specific purpose, and the datasheet says flame sensors, so that's something industrial that I haven't worked with so far, but you certainly can't make use of that for everyday measurements. You might think that's useful for measuring low current consumption on a low power battery power project, but think again, because that range has a burden voltage of 3 millivolts per microamp. So if you're measuring to the top of the range at 2 milliamps, that would mean a burden voltage of 6 volts, and that makes it unusable for any kind of low current measurements on battery powered devices, for example. I think it's also worth mentioning the BM27 has a non-contact voltage function, which is missing from the BM22, and it can also detect a live wire by probing with just the positive lead. The BM22S, on the other hand, has a hold function. Brymen claims this is a fast 30 millisecond hold function, and I think what they mean with that is that it samples every 30 milliseconds or maybe faster than that, so it will catch any signal which is at least 30 milliseconds long. Also on the BM22 we have a capacitance measurement which is missing from the BM27, but accuracy on this measurement is only specified for battery voltage above 2.8 volts. Below 50 nanofarads, accuracy is not specified, so you can't really trust measurements below 50 nanofarads. Both of these meters have auto power off capability. The BM22 is set to power off after 30 minutes of inactivity. It doesn't beep at you while doing that. And the BM27 is set to power off after 3 minutes, and it will sound a warning beep every time it does that. Now let's look at physical size. Because we don't have an integrated plastic enclosure, these meters are the smallest and the lightest at just 75 grams. But in this category, they are all pocket multimeters. They can all fit in your in your pocket. So I'm not sure how relevant it is that these are slightly smaller than the other ones, because still they all fit in your pocket. The Brymen comes with these soft carry case. I don't mind it, it's okay, but it does increase the overall size if you put it inside its carry case, and as you can see, it's about the size of my palm. So with the carry case, it makes it more difficult to put inside the pocket. So it depends on how you would like to carry it, but inside the toolbox with this carry case, it will be protected from dust and scratches on the screen. On the back of the meters, we see a label with a few instructions and the ranges of the meters, and that's something I always like to see, because we can't be expected to remember all of our meter ranges. Looking at the test leads, they are fixed for the Brymen, and we can see we have some nice strain relief here at the entry point to the meter. We have about 65 centimeters length of really good quality silicone wire. It's nice and flexible, and at the end we have a pair of small thin probes, but they feel nicer than on the other meters I have reviewed. They feel softer. They are not made of plastic like with the other cheap pocket meters, and they have some pretty sharp pins. Overall, these are the best leads so far from our selection of pocket meters. They have these protective covers that can be removed. I think these are a requirement for the Cat 3 rating, but I don't really like to use these, so I will remove them for the rest of this video. A nice touch that I haven't seen before is this piece of plastic on the wires themselves, and you can insert the probes into this holder just to make it like a nice storage solution. I guess you can maybe even wrap the wire, something like this. I don't know, I'll have to try that. But I like how they protect the tips inside the carry case. And also on the probes themselves, we have this finger guard that will protect your fingers better than what I've seen on the other pocket meters, which had a slightly smaller finger guard. But considering these are Brymen meters and they will meet their safety ratings, I'm sure this is a requirement for some of those Cat ratings. The display of the Brymen has the tallest digits out of the bunch, which is great for visibility, but it feels like the viewing angles and maybe the contrast are just slightly worse than those found on the Unity meter. Still not bad, and for the fact that you get these taller digits, I consider these two good displays, competing for the first place with the Unity meter. The one on the BM27 does have slightly thicker digits, as you can see. It's like they're bold and like they're normal on the 22S. It doesn't really make sense to me why they made this change between the two models. I like both of them, I don't have any problem. The next thing we're going to take a look at is the rotary switch. These meters have the flat style rotary switch that you can't really turn with one hand without having the meter twist, especially if you're on a shiny surface. But if you're on a special ESD mat like I'm having here, it does grip the meter and you can twist the switch with just one hand. But typically you would use these pocket meters maybe on the field where you don't have a surface like this, so it will probably slide around if you try to turn it with one hand. I don't like this type of rotary switch, but I have to admit it does have its advantages for space saving and protection, and it feels better than all the others I have looked at. It really has a nice feeling with just precise detents when selecting. The select soft switch, which is in the middle of the rotary switch, is kind of soft, but I like how it's positioned in the middle of the rotary switch so it doesn't take up more space on the front of the meter. That's a really nice touch. A short press on the select switch will change the function on that range, while a long press will turn on or off the meter in case of the BM27, because it doesn't have an off position on the rotary switch. It's just a long press on the select switch to turn on or off the meter. The BM22 has this extra hold button. It's a soft button. I don't really like this button. I think it's too tall, and I think it's kind of soft and thin. I feel it's fragile. I'm not sure how this will hold over time. As you probably noticed, the BM22 has these markings on the rotary switch painted black, while on the BM27 they're not painted, they're just the gray color of the plastic knob, which makes them kind of hard to read. I don't know what they were thinking leaving them like this on the BM27S. They are just hard to read. I mean, right now with the right light and the angle, yes, you can see them on camera, but on the field I'm sure it's pretty difficult to read these markings. Next, let's take a look at the continuity tester. The BM22S is not latched and puts out about 72 decibels. Let me show you how it sounds. It's not particularly fast, but because it's not latched, you can hear even short pulses. The BM27S is latched and puts out the same 72 decibels, so they must be using the same buzzer inside. But as you can see, it's latched on the BM27S, which makes it a nicer continuity test. Both of them are pretty slow compared to higher-end multimeters, but among pocket meters it's pretty similar to what we get on the others in terms of speed. I've also tested the auto range feature on these meters to see how fast they react. On voltage measurements, on DC voltage measurements, the BM22S is slow, and it does that thing that we've seen before with other pocket meters. So here is, I'm connecting a 1 volt DC voltage to the BM22S, and it does that thing that it jumps to a higher value before settling to the correct measurement. The BM27, however, is faster to auto range, and it doesn't have that overshoot problem. It goes almost directly to the correct value. As you can see, slightly faster and goes directly to the correct value. On resistance measurements tested with a 10K resistor, both meters need over 3 seconds to auto range and show the correct almost 10K value. So I would say they are both pretty slow, and like I said, you see they take almost over 3 seconds to get the correct value and auto range to 10K. Regarding the accuracy of these meters, I now have one of these LRC reference boxes from China, and I will be using these to retest the ohms accuracy on all of the pocket meters, and I will add a new line with this measurement in the comparison spreadsheet. The reference resistor we have in here, when connected to my Agilent 34401 multimeter, shows exactly 66.5 kilo ohm as shown here. So I would assume this sticker really represents a real measurement made at the time they built this reference box, just by the fact that I'm getting the exact same measurement on my Agilent meter. So we're getting 66.4, 66.5 on the BM22S. Let's see what we're getting on the BM27. The BM27 seems to measure a bit lower, but still within the specified accuracy. Regarding the DC amps range, which is only available on the Brymen BM27S, I will be using my 400 microamp current reference I built a while ago, and let's connect the meter to see how it measures on this reference. That is within specified accuracy. Yep, so I have tested here 4 different measurements, and they are all within the specified accuracy of this pocket meter. When turned off, these meters don't consume any power, while in auto power off mode they will consume just 1 microamp. During normal operation, I have checked with DC volts and ohms, and they have similar figures, something under 800 microamps, which is pretty similar to what we've seen with the other pocket meters. That means we should expect the same 200-hour battery life out of a single good quality CR2032 battery. Maybe slightly less for the BM27S, which has a cutoff voltage at just 2.4 volts. And now there is only one thing we didn't do, a teardown of these meters. They have a single metal threaded screw holding it together, and here they are. We have the BM22S on the left and the BM27 on the right, and we immediately spot the main difference between these two PCBs. We have a shield on the BM27S. Here is the piezo buzzer, which is stuck to the back side of the enclosure, and we also have this spring contact to transfer the positive from the battery to this pad on the PCB. We also notice a bunch of test points on the back of this PCB. Those are no doubt used during production for testing and calibration, probably with a bed of nails fixture. We can also see 2 small spring contacts that will transfer the signal to the piezo buzzer on the back, and that's a very nice and reliable way of connecting 2 pieces of the circuit. Those spring contacts will be really reliable over time, and also when compared to a wire connection, there is no risk of ripping that connection when opening the meter. Looks like the rotary switch is held together with this C-clip, and we're gonna have to remove that to gain access to the other side of this board where all of the components are, but I'm already seeing some protection on the input, so I'm gonna remove that to inspect further. It looks like all of the components are on this side. I still have the BM22 on the left and the BM27 on the right, and I would like to start with the input section because this is not something I've seen in any of the other pocket multimeters we've looked at. There is plenty of protection in here, but starting with the input connection, we can see a nice attention to details the wires are crimped and then the crimp is soldered on the PCB, so that will improve the reliability of that connection. We then have input resistor, and look at this, we have a spark gap. So this spark gap should help protect this meter very well. Spark gaps are not found very often, not even in full-size multimeters, but it's really nice to see them in this pocket multimeter. So we have a couple of spark gaps, couple of input protection resistors. We have a PTC in here, and added on the BM27 we have a fuse, because the BM27 can also measure current. I think this is some kind of relay on the input side of the BM27, and this might be necessary for that auto function to switch between the different measurements. Next, we also see a bunch of series resistors that also are for the input protection. We see some transistor pairs which might be connected back to back for clamping purposes. So yeah, you pretty much get all the protection you would like to see on a multimeter on these Brymens. Some might say that is to be expected from Brymen, because they really meet their specified ratings and safety ratings. They are independently tested by outside laboratories. So yeah, I'm pretty sure these meters will meet their safety specs. The main processor seems to be under this blob of epoxy for both of these multimeters. Big difference between them is that on the left, on the BM22, we have these adjustment pots, while on the right we do not have them, but we have this 8-pin package, which I believe it's an EEPROM memory for storing calibration data. So I think on the BM22 the calibration is done through these pots, maybe, and on the right, on the BM27, the calibration is done and stored electronically in this EEPROM. And this is some logic chip, some 74 series. I can't really read the numbers right now, but I'm sure it's in charge of some multiplexing happening in here. The soldering and overall the assembly job is of pretty good quality, which is what you would expect from Brymen, and the contacts are PCB gold plated. Also, I see another interesting feature in here, the input series diode with the battery input terminal. So that would act as reverse polarity protection, because it's pretty easy to reverse one of these coin cells in its slot. So that will protect your meter from reverse battery connection. So I would say these look pretty nice inside, and the amount of protection, none of the other pocket multimeters come even close to the amount of protection these meters have. So now, considering these two new meters, I have to reassess the ranking I did in the spreadsheet. Just by protection features and the quality of the Brymen meters, I have to move them to the top of my ranking. I'll give the first spot to the BM22S, because it has this nice big display, it's good quality silicone leads, and all the required protection features I like to see in a multimeter. And also it's not really that much more expensive at $26 US net price. There is no question about it. I think this is the best pocket multimeter that you can get for sub $30. If there is anything out there better than this, then please let me know. Number 2 spot is debatable between the NN8203, which used to hold the number 1 spot, and the BM27S. The BM27 is nicer overall. It has better protection, better test leads, higher quality, but unfortunately it's moving into expensive territory at $41 US net price. At least when compared to the NN8203, which can be bought for just $10. So number 2, it's up to you to decide which features you value most. If you want something which is as cheap as possible, then go for the Aneng. If you can afford the BM27 and need the extra functions it has, then by all means this is a better multimeter. So I will post a link to this updated spreadsheet in the description below. Ordering these meters from welectron will also get you a 3-year warranty plus a 45-day return policy, which in my opinion makes it a sweet deal. So don't forget to use the coupon code I will place in the description below to get that €5 discount. Welectron also loaned me this installation testing capable multimeter. Is the Brymen BM22S, and I plan to use this on the input of the pocket meters to test if they will break down or not at those higher voltages. I am expecting the meters without proper protection to start failing maybe upwards of 600 volts. But I will do this test in a separate video, as this one is getting pretty long already. As usual, thank you for watching, and let me know in the comment section what are your thoughts on the subject.